Here live on Pit Road. I am Alex Weaver, and thank you so much for joining us here on this Sunday afternoon. The sun is out, and it is a beautiful day here in Talladega, but as we know, the playoffs create chaos and drama. We're looking forward to 500 miles, and it comes down to strategy, working with teammates, making sure that you have the speed on these drafting tracks, but also it's a little bit of luck. You have to avoid the big one and make sure that you're there at the end. And it's a playoff race. This is how the playoff standings look entering today's race here at Talladega. And we're into the round of 12. So the bubble right now cuts off after Joey Logano. It is Joey Logano and Tyler Reddick right there on the elimination line. And joining Tyler Reddick below in the standings is Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Cindric. We're going to be joined by a handful of your playoff drivers, as well as those drivers that are hoping to win here at Talladega that aren't in the playoffs. But two drivers who know how to get it done on super speedways, and especially when it comes here to 500 miles at Talladega, is Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin, that know that this racetrack is all about strategy.
I don't know. I think we see these races as big opportunities. You know, for us, we've come to look forward to these events. I know some people come out and they say, I don't look forward to these events, you know, and it's not a good mindset to have, you know. So I think we just all, how do we maximize, you know, the weekend, and whether it's here, Daytona or Atlanta, and how do we work together as a team, you know, between Joey, Austin, and myself, and Harrison? How do we, you know, try to support each other and try to do the best we can for our groups? And I feel like we do a better job at like teamwork here than anybody else. I feel like we constantly look for each other. We constantly have each other's backs, and that's what you need here. And I think that's what we've done to be successful at these racetracks.
I wish that you know, I felt like I had a bigger role in what our result will be here this weekend. But, you know, out of obviously all the things that I've learned from Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart and some of the greats that I watched, you know, make moves and create runs, and things like that. It's just a different world today, and you really just, it's more about, you know, where does the spotter tell you to go, and, you know, because they can see the bigger picture, and making sure you're staying in the right line. And then at that point, yeah, it does come down to some, you know, good techniques if you're within those first 3 or 4 cars, but the days of someone, you know, driving from the back to the front, you know, are over. And so you got to just do the best you can to execute. That's just the biggest name of the game on this track now.
Now both of those drivers, Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, will be rolling off in your top 10. Here's the look at the starting grid for the Yellowwood 500. A lot of blue ovals, and the Ford camp will have a lot of speed rolling into the drop of the green flag, but also joined by some Chevrolets and a Toyota. But one team that is missing from the top 10 starting grid is Hendrick Motorsports, and a driver that's hoping, he doesn't really care where he starts, but he just wants to find victory lane. He'll roll off 12th for today's race. He sits 4th in points, the driver of the number 5, Kyle Larson. Welcome to Talladega. I'm a little scared to ask you how you're feeling this morning, because I know how you feel about super speedways, but how are you feeling this morning?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do kind of, I don't know if look forward's the right word, but I don't get as nervous for super speedways as I used to, because I feel like we do a good job as a team to position ourselves at the end. Unfortunately, we've not been able to finish where we probably deserve to most of the time, but I think as long as we keep executing like we have, we'll keep having opportunities to finish better and maybe get a win someday.
We mentioned these racing tracks. When it comes to drafting and working with teammates and manufacturers, it's skill, sure, but there's also a lot of luck just to make sure that you survive until the final stage. Is it more luck or skill in your mind?
I mean, I think it's probably more skill in the team execution part to at least have yourself towards the front of the field. And then once you're up there, if you get caught up in a wreck, which I feel like I have from like positions, you know, 2 through 8, then I think it's you got to get lucky to miss it sometimes there. But I think, yeah, putting yourself in position, it takes a skill from not only behind the wheel, but mostly on the pit box as well.
We know that this racing is going to lend itself probably to chaos, given that it's the playoffs, but the intensity ramp up when it comes to playoff racing at a super speedway track, how different is that than just a regular season race?
I don't know. I think a lot of times it's less intense on speedways during playoff races, because you have the playoff guys that are trying to be more careful to at least get to the finish. But then you also have guys that aren't in the playoffs that really don't care, and you know they're being maybe more aggressive than they would be during the regular season because they know that they need to be to the end to try and win to lock in. So I don't know. I mean, it's fairly calm until the ends of the stages, and then especially the last probably 10 or 15 laps of the race. You can feel it. Like everybody starts side drafting a little tighter, pushing a little bit harder, a little bit longer pushes. So yeah, you can feel when the intensity ramps up.
As far as the goals for this race, just given where you are in the point standings and how Kansas went for you guys, what are the goals for the 5 team today?
Yeah, I think for me and our team, we would love to get stage points in both stages, and then if we could win, great. Everybody wants to win, but I think if we could be top 10 in all 3 stages, I think we would probably leave here with an okay point gap to the cut line. So yeah, that's my hopes and goals, but it's just crazy, and I haven't really. I think I've got like the worst average finish in super speedways, so we'll try and change that. But if it doesn't go the way we need to, I know we'll have a fast car next week and just got to execute the good there too.
We'll obviously have the Charlotte Roval to close out this round, but here at Talladega and walking through the manufacturers, how important has the conversation been around playoff drivers versus non-playoff drivers?
Yeah, I mean, I think the conversation's always there, and I think more than anything, it's probably just the non-playoff guys just conversation of like having awareness to where we are in points and what our objectives are, which they have objectives as well. They're trying to win too. So I think Chevy as a group works probably the best together. We have way more teams and drivers, so it's a lot of times harder to work together when you have that many, but I feel like Chevy does a good job, especially the key partners, Hendrick, Trackhouse, and RCR. I feel like we've done it so often now. We've had those meetings and stuff that we do a great job. So I'm sure it'll be more of the same today, and hopefully we can all avoid wrecks and have more numbers at the end of the race.
Well, Kyle Larson will roll off 12th. Have some fun today. Enjoy it. Stay safe. We're going to make the transition now. We're going to go from Kyle Larson to Austin Dillon, who is starting 7th. You found some qualifying speed yesterday. What'd you feel inside that 3 Camaro?
Yeah, the Bass Pro Shops Chevy ECR brought some steam under the hood, so feeling good about it. Talladega is a place that speed matters. It really helps things. So starting in a good spot, got a good pit stall, and maybe we can keep that Bass Pro Shop Chevy where it needs to be.
You mentioned that pit stall, and I'm going to ask from a driver's point of view. When it comes to a super speedway race, how important is your pit selection and where you are on pit road?
Well, it's pretty important because a lot of people pit at the same time under caution, and you're just trying to have clean in and outs. So having an opening in help, and we'll try and use that to our advantage.
Well, you finished 2nd here in the spring of 2022, which is your best finish, but you're a Daytona 500 champ. So walk me through the skills of super speedway racing and how you work together with teammates, manufacturers, and what that means for you drivers out there.
Yeah, Talladega has been interesting for me. In Daytona, we've been really strong every time we've gone there and had good cars. In Talladega, I've had a couple of cars that I felt like probably could have won. But it's interesting that we have a little more speed usually at Daytona than Talladega, but maybe this is the day that we put ourselves in the right position and can go out there and compete for a win at Dega. I'd love to have super speedway wins at both of your premier speedways that we have.
There obviously will be 12 playoff drivers that are hoping to just survive and make it through. But for you guys this season, how have you felt about the 3's season in 2024?
Oh, up and down. It felt good to get to victory lane at Richmond, kind of turn our season around somewhat and have some solid finishes as of late. And I'm hoping that Talladega can be a place where we could, go back to victory lane, really fighting for, just trying to get back in the top 25 in points. That'd be nice. We put ourselves in such a hole at the beginning of this year, a lot of wrecks, some things out of our control, but we've got a good, strong couple of tracks coming up to finish the season, and it'd be good to leave on a high note.
And then finally, when does it stop? When does the teammate work stop here at Talladega? When is it every man for themselves?
Well, today is really important for our Chevrolet, teammates that are in the playoffs. So we got to do our job to help those guys. And then also for myself and Kyle is just trying to get RCR to victory lane at all costs.
Well, I know you love this place, so go have some fun today. Austin Dillon will roll off 7th in his number 3 Camaro. Thanks, AD. We're going to make the transition from AD to AB. You like what I did there? Alex Bowman, driver of the number 48 for Hendrick Motorsports, rolling off 23rd today. Yes, no? How are we feeling about Talladega this morning?
Yeah, I feel really good about it. Obviously wish we would have qualified a little bit better, but still have a pit stall that we're pretty happy with, which is really the biggest thing. And hopefully we can overcome track position early and kind of go from there. We all have seen how the Speedway races have gone this year, and I don't think this one will be any different. So, yeah, make up some track position and save more fuel than the rest of the guys and go from there.
Every team driver, you guys all have a debrief after qualifying. What was kind of the message for these 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers yesterday?
Yeah, we didn't have a debrief after qualifying. Yeah, we had lunch together. That was about it, and we didn't talk about much. So I think we all know where we're at, know what we need to do. We've Speedway raced together long enough to know what's expected, and obviously, we have a lot of great Chevy teammates here this weekend that hopefully we can lean on and work together the best we can. So yeah, our Ally Camaro should be really good today, and we'll see what happens.
You finished 5th here in the spring. Anything different that you could have taken away from that race that will improve today?
Yeah, I mean, I think stage points obviously right now are way more important than they were in the spring. So trying to capitalize on that. I don't even remember where we finished in the stages, but probably not very good if I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, stage points are going to be really important, and strategy-wise, it's going to break down really similar. So we'll see where the cautions fall. Coming to Speedway races, I used to get really nervous about crashing and trying to put yourself in the position not to crash. And really now it's like I've kind of shifted to just trying to focus on what I can control and execute the race the best I can. And the things I can't control are exactly that. They're things that are out of my hands, out of our hands on the 48 team, and we just need to focus on the things that are in our hands and execute those at a really high level.
You mentioned stage points, and it's so ironic coming from you because I write this stat down every single time that I talk about this 48 crew. You guys have scored points in every single stage of the playoffs. How have you been able to find success in a time when it is all about pressure and intensity and making sure that you are clicking on all cylinders for these playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we really changed anything going into the playoffs. We've just had more pace lately, so that's been really nice. Things have been going really well, obviously, clicking as a race team really well, and it's made my job easier to have a little more speed. So it's been a good 4 weeks to start the playoffs. Obviously a long way to go, but we're doing everything right now, and we just need to continue executing at a really high level. And yeah, there's a lot more stages to go, a lot more races to go, but things are going well right now.
We have obviously the chaos of Talladega and the unknown of this place, but then next week we turn to the Roval. How do you feel about the Charlotte Roval next week?
A place I felt good about for a long time, and I don't know what we were thinking on turn 6 and 7, but we changed it, and it's going to be interesting for sure. I think what drivers want versus what fans want are typically two different things, and I think we're going to get more what fans want than what drivers want out of the new layout, but that's great for the fans, right? So I think it's going to cause chaos for sure. You have a turn that you really can't see until you're there in turn 6. And then you're trying to make a U-turn on a one-way street for turn 7. So it's going to be exciting. We've been really good there for the last couple of years, and turn 7 was a place that I really excelled at. So I'm sad to see the old one go, but excited for a new challenge, new racetrack kind of. And it's going to be interesting for sure. Run it in the sim a little bit so far. And yeah, it's going to be wild.
You get that win at the Chicago Street Race, which is such an iconic venue for us in this sport, but I know how special it was for you. You now sit 6th in points. You scored gained 15 after Kansas. How much fun are you having this season?
I don't know that cup racing's about fun. Cup racing's about executing at a really high level and working really hard. Like, I don't even winning, right? Like, you got to fall in love with the process and the work that it takes to run well at this level. And it's not like we're out here goofing off and enjoying driving the race car. Like, obviously I'm very blessed to be able to drive a race car for a living, but you have to be 10 tenths at all times and working extremely hard, and every little thing matters and adds up. So not really focused on the fun of it at the moment. Obviously, getting back to victory lane meant a lot to me, and I definitely enjoyed the latter half of that day. But when it comes to coming to the racetrack, it's all business. It's all about work. And while it's weird to call driving a race car work, we turn it into that. So yeah, super focused on executing at a high level and trying to figure out how to enjoy it, but definitely more focused on figuring out how to be successful.
You can give me as simple as an answer to this question as you want. Is this a championship winning team with the 48?
Yeah, I think we're capable, right? Like, We're a little bit streaky at times, so we just need the streak to go 6 more races, and we're fine. We're on the right side of it. So, yeah, if we can continue doing what we're doing, absolutely. We just need to go do that.
All right, Alex Bowman will roll off 23rd. Thank you. Stay safe today. Have some fun. That is Kyle Larson and Alex Bowman. Obviously, the qualifying effort wasn't there for Hendrick Motorsports, and you heard Alex Bowman say that they're hoping to turn that around and find speed when they're actually out there with the full drafting teammates for the Chevrolet camp. But you can see behind me, the cars are gridded. The fans are starting to find their seats or their place on pit road. We have an infield concert that's going on. The excitement is building at Talladega. It could not be a more perfect race day here. But we're going to take a look at some changes that you may not be able to see on TV with these race cars, but the safety, the research and development of NASCAR continues to improve, and we made some changes to these cars to make sure that they stay safe if they are involved in a wreck and not get airborne. So take a look at inside the race, the aero package changes.
At Talladega this weekend, you're going to see a few new parts and pieces added to the car. We went to work after Michigan with the 7 car lifting off, and then at Daytona with the 4 car. Went to work here at the R&D Center using CFD and wind tunnels to essentially see what we could do. Basically, we want that liftoff speed as high as we can get it to keep the cars on the ground. But we know that in certain circumstances, that's just not going to be possible, but we continue to work on it. And these improvements, these parts and pieces, add about 25% to the liftoff speed at 90 degrees, so when the cars are going sideways, essentially. In terms of the parts and pieces, you're probably used to seeing this black roof rail that goes all the way across here and up the flap. What we've done is we've extended it upward on the right-hand side with about 2 inches of polycarbonate. So you can see that goes all the way forward and is on the roof flap here. The second component is we've added this fabric flap here. So if you've paid attention on the left-hand side flap, it actually has that. We added it to the right to help the car in the earlier part of the spin. So it makes this flap work a lot better and keeps higher pressure there. And then finally, underneath here, it'll be very subtle and probably hard to see on TV. We've added what we're calling a rocker fin. So it's a 3/4 inch long skirt area. Because what we saw was there was a little bit of pressurization happening underneath the car in front of the tire, and this kind of helps us deal with that. All in all, these changes add about 25% to the liftoff speed at 90 degrees. 90 is about where we saw both the cars go over this year, so we're feeling pretty good about the improvement we made. As far as the teams and manufacturers, we've been communicating throughout this process over the last couple weeks of what we're doing. Hey, we're going to the wind tunnel. These are the parts that we're going to try. We then went to work to produce all of the components here at the R&D Center, and then we distribute them to the teams to try to make it as easy as possible. And that includes, like, instructions on what they need to do or what they need to buy, but we try to give everyone it that first time just to help everybody. And we'll also be making shop visits all throughout the week so that when we get to inspection on Friday at Talladega, there should be no surprises there. Going forward, this will be specifically on the super speedways, and we'll continue to work on some ideas we've had and some learnings from the wind tunnel and CFD. A little longer term, going to take us a while to kind of science it out and get parts made and all that, but it's just a continuous process. We're always working on this, and we'll continue to do so throughout the off season.
So 3 aero changes here to the cars at Talladega, and safety is paramount. It's the most important aspect of us racing, especially when it comes to these super speedways. Hopefully those changes will prevent our NASCAR Cup Series cars from getting airborne if they're involved in a wreck. But it takes skill and luck here at Talladega. This place is unlike any other racetrack that we see all season long, and our NASCAR Cup Series drivers know that the intensity ramps up when it comes to Talladega. Here's what they had to say about Talladega at Around the Track.
What makes Talladega unique is the atmosphere. When you go there and the fans are loud and wild and having a good time, it's just always such an interesting race too on the racetrack itself because it's got a different feel from Daytona. The track's a lot wider, so it's a little bit harder to kind of control that race.
The fuel strategy stuff is really critical to being up front at the end of the race, and so you just got to be on the same page as your crew chief.
The information that you get from your spotter at a place like Talladega is super important, and for me it's like listening to my favorite song on the radio. Like, I have to be able to know what's happening without thinking about it.
Well, your Busch Light pole sitter found some speed here at Talladega. He's a Daytona 500 champion. He's won at the Brickyard Wouldn't you love to get a win here at Talladega? Michael McDowell is going to break us through what he felt in your qualifying run. Let's start there because you had some speed.
Yeah, definitely. We've had speed all year in our, Love Shall Stop Ford Mustang. The Mustangs have been super fast at these super speedways, and we got our 5th speedway pole, which is amazing. Super proud of the team on that. But today's race day, right? Like qualifying on the pole is cool, but you want to win the race, and we are a few hundred yards away from winning in the spring. So hopefully we have another shot at it coming down to the white flag and put ourselves in position, and hopefully I'll make the right moves this time to get us into victory lane.
We're watching your qualifying effort here. Your 6th pole of the 2024 season, but your 5th straight on a super speedway. Do you guys go into qualifying here now just like it's pole or bust?
It is pole or bust. It didn't start out like that, right? We went to Daytona, and when we qualified 2nd there for the Daytona 500, we realized, okay, we have something, and if we work really hard, I think we'll have a shot at it. And timing's everything in our sport. We know that the Mustangs are really fast. At these places. Roush Yates' engine power has been amazing, and there's not always an opportunity to be able to do what we've done, and so we capitalized on the opportunity and made the most of it. But now we got to turn that into a race win. Like I said, it's an important part of it. We've had the fastest cars, at these places, so now we need to get a win.
You started on the pole here in the spring earlier this season. You mentioned being oh so close to winning here earlier. How do you change that? What did you need to do differently?
Yeah, it's tough because, you're reacting to the cars behind you. And anytime you're leading on the white flag here, you know that you're going to have to be the aggressor because the runs are coming and people are going to make a move. And I just got to do a little bit better job anticipating and not overreacting. But at the same time, you learn every situation you get in. It's hard to beat Brad at these places because he's so strategic and smart. And so I knew I had to be aggressive and decisive, and I was probably just a little bit too much. But I think the approach is the same. How you execute it has to be different because we didn't make it to victory lane, but the approach is still the same. If I come off a turn 4 in the spring and I don't make that move and I don't come back down the block, I'm going to finish 2nd or 3rd or 4th, and that'll be a nice day, but it's not what we are going for, right? And so you still have to take that approach and mentality to win at all costs, but I got to do a better job of actually getting to, the finish line.
You talked through that. That was our big one for earlier in the season, and we talked through those aero changes. We saw Eric Jacuzzi walk us through. What are you expecting from the aero changes they made on the race cars?
Yeah, it's hard to know without practice and without being in the draft, but, we had the right side fin put on for Daytona, and it did change the balance a little bit in traffic, but it wasn't this huge, earth-shattering change. And so we kind of anticipate the same today. There'll probably be some situations in the pack where you might feel a balance shift or things a little different. But all in all, I don't think it's going to change the dynamic of the race too much. And hopefully, if we do get into a situation, it does, give us a little bit more of a buffer for flipping over. But you just never know. I mean, there's so many scenarios that you can't run through that CFD and the wind tunnel are not going to predict, because when you have 38 cars out there at close to 200 miles an hour, there's a lot of variables you can't control. So, but they're working really hard. They're working really hard. NASCAR is on trying to keep the cars on the ground, and this is that next step, and hopefully it does its job.
Will you walk me through the on-track activity that we're expecting for today? But as far as off the track, you've had your family here. They've been in the playground and the driver-owner lot. We see all the fans that pack into here every single time we race here. How special is Talladega? As a veteran of our sport who's been coming here for a long time.
It is a special place, and it's a big weekend for the families. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, but this is the weekend that my family looks forward to the most, because they have fall festival and bounce houses and all kinds of fun stuff going on in the infield. And then, for us, it's one of those last opportunities to try to get a checkered flag. And so we all feel that, and it's it's great. We've been close, but close doesn't cut it, right? And you don't get the trophy for close. So, you run well enough and you put yourself in position enough times, and it's going to go your way. And hopefully today it'll go our way.
Can confirm the McDowell children were not on the boulevard, correct?
Oh, no. We were in bed at 9. Yeah. We try to stay off the boulevard if we can, but those days have passed us. My goal on these weekends is to keep my crew guys, in bed at least by midnight or so. This way they're ready to go today.
Boulevard. You have to do it once at least, but dangerous spot. Enjoy the view from the front of the pack. We'll look forward to seeing what you can do.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That is Michael McDowell, your Busch Light pole sitter, and this transition is going to be fun because this is front row to front row. So basically we just went from the pole sitter to the gentleman who's going to be right beside him there. It's the best seat in the house. Austin Cindric will roll off second for today's race. How are you feeling about starting the race up front here at Talladega?
I feel fine. Feel good. Good place to be. Don't see anything outside my windshield. Got Michael next to me, so trying to control the race here and see what we got.
I know obviously that you have had success on these super speedways. Do you like this style of racing?
It's a change of pace, right? I mean, it's different areas that you have to perfect and execute well, and there's a lot of challenges. I mean, I think the thing that nobody likes is that you do put your trust in your competitors, and I don't trust a single one of them. Maybe trust my teammates. I think that's about it. So you try and put yourself in a position to where you're able to control your destiny best you can. And with that, we got a fast race car. We're starting up front, and up to that, it's execution. And controlling the best race that you can possibly do. So past that, it is fun. It's a different challenge, but it's not the best place to go into with points hole.
I have to read this stat just to make sure that I get it right. You lead all drivers in points earned and laps led on drafting tracks in 2024. Luck, skill, what has played a factor into you having success?
None of it matters because I haven't won a race yet. So points would be awesome today. So that part is cool. No, it's just been good execution in fast race cars. Past that, I guess just doing my job.
Well, you sit 12th in points. You lost 25 points after Kansas, though, so now coming to 2 race weekends that are a bit of a little chaotic and unknowns. What is the goal for today?
Embrace the chaos and be in front of it.
How do you embrace the chaos?
I don't know. I'm about to find out, I guess.
There at the end, though, as far as pushing versus out front, do you want to be leading and have somebody pushing you to the finish line, or do you want to be pushing and then make your move?
Well, you're talking to a guy who got wrecked out of the lead after our last super speedway race, so put me in the lead again, and hopefully it works better.
As far as this 2 crew and these playoffs, we mentioned it. You guys are 12th in points. We know where the cutoff stands now for this round. How have you felt about your playoff efforts so far?
I've been so proud of my race team. I feel like we're bringing our best race cars to the racetrack since the start of the playoffs. We've run some of our best races so far. Kansas really stung because I felt like that was one of our best intermediate races so far this year, and I obviously have nothing to show for it, but just a silly, irrepeatable mistake on my end that kind of took us out of contention in that race and has obviously put us in a points hole. So, like I said, been really proud of my guys, proud of the effort, but none of it matters if we don't have points, we don't make it through. So, looking forward to today and next week and see if we continue the trend.
Well, you continue to have some fun here in the playoffs. Enjoy Talladega.
Cool, thank you.
That is Austin Cindric. He will roll off from the front row right beside your Busch Light pole sitter of Michael McDowell. But we do actually have some breaking news here down on pit road at Talladega. The 99 of Daniel Suarez has unapproved adjustments and will go from 31st to 40th. So one of your playoff drivers who is looking to advance to the next round and is below the elimination line will have a lot of cars left to pass. He will drop to the rear and also will have to serve a pass-through penalty. So some breaking news for the 99. Let's take a look, though, at your top 10 starting grid because this will be the front of the field. We heard from Michael McDowell and Austin Cindric, but here's how they'll stack up for the Yellowwood 500, drop of the green flag. We're closing in. You can feel it. It's starting to get electric. The intensity is picking up. Fans are starting to continue to crowd the infield here. But we want to thank you so much for joining us on our live pre-race show. It's Talladega. It's 500 miles of thrills, drama, and chaos. Make sure and turn it over to NBC at 2 p.m. Eastern. You're going to want to catch all 500 miles. Thanks so much for joining us, and happy race day.
Grandstand pack, infield full. Welcome to Talladega. This is the fastest speedway on earth. Crash into the wall.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, the wreck is 3. But up front, they're racing for the win. Oh, the block and around goes the 34. What a wild finish.